everyone. Welcome to the first in our series of NUG webinars, Namos User Group webinars, hashtag Nuggets of Wisdom. My name's Ryan Nichols. I'm the marketing manager at Namos. We'll be conducting these webinars about once a month, with the next one scheduled for the 5th of February about Cloud Success Navigator. Today we have Sasha Phillips from our managed services team. She'll be monitoring the Q&A section. So if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the Q&A. We also have Deepansh Malik, who will be giving a presentation and a demo for an overview of Expenses mobile app and digital assistant. So Deepansh, if I could hand over to yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. As far as the agenda goes, I'll provide a quick introduction to the Expenses mobile app, then just let you know how to enable the app and how to start using it. Then we'll see what all tasks that are available in the app. Then we have an overview and demo of the application itself. So I'll be logging in from my phone and then showing you the app, showing you around what functionality it offers and how you can get around the app. So starting with the introduction, the Oracle Fusion Expenses mobile app, allows users to use their mobile devices on the fly. So wherever you are, you can create and upload both cash and corporate card expenses to Oracle Cloud. So it works seamlessly with the cloud application. Now, in the application itself, you can set your payment method. If your business unit is enabled to do so, you can select payment template. By default, it selects the default payment template, but then you can edit the payment template. You can upload receipts using a PDF format, or you can use your phone camera to quickly take images of the receipts as you go and upload them to the expense. And then you can also use the mobile application to withdraw any report that you have already submitted. If you think you have to do any modifications, you can then edit it and resubmit it. One thing that you need to take into consideration is when you submit an expense report from the mobile device, you might observe that the submit screen doesn't show some expenses. It might be because some expenses might have some missing information or kind of an error. So in such cases, the submit screen will not show you those expenses. Mind you, those expenses will still be available in the upload screen. We'll see all of that when we are doing the demo. Again, if you submit an expense report and if it fails any validation, then the expense report is saved as a draft in the web application and it will not be submitted for approvals. The Oracle Expense Assistant, on the other hand, is a conventional skill within the Fusion application's digital assistant. So it allows users to create and manage their expenses using a conversational experience. Now, with the Expenses mobile app, you have to have an application and create expenses. But with the digital assistant, you could use your SMS service to send SMSs to the digital assistant and tell the digital assistant to create expenses on your behalf. Now, the assistant communicates directly with the Oracle Expenses web application to perform those tasks for you. I'll quickly show you what are the setup involved. So the Expense Assistant is included in the ERP product SKU and is available out of box. But the assistant, in fact, is actually part of the overall Oracle Fusion application's digital assistant. So if you have got license to the digital assistant, if you have bought licenses for digital assistant, you should have the Expense Assistant as part of it. Once you have your digital assistant set up, you need to schedule and run the synchronized financial objects for database search process. This process will create the repository of the merchants used by the employees to aid in expense type derivation. You can then set your Expense Assistant to work as per your requirements using the setup, manage auto submission and matching options page, and then it should work for you. So the manage auto submission and matching options page provides different options to configure the expense assistant. Uh, Here are some of the different settings that you can configure. You can set up automatic submission of expenses. So this needs to be set up at least once weekly so that when you are communicating with the assistant once a week, it should create the expense report automatically on your behalf. Then you can configure matching expenses with corporate card expenses, manage synonyms for expense types. So when you are in a uh, conversation with the expense assistant, you can have synonyms for your expense types. For example, the expense type may be meals, but you may tell the expense assistant that create an expense for £10 for food. So food will automatically be created as a meal type. So like that, you can create synonyms for expense types. uh, you can configure expense digest. Now what that does is that creates notifications for you, where when the expense is ready for you to submit, or if it is ready in the Oracle application, it gives you a notification that the expense has been created. You can also enable electronic receipt processing. So with electronic receipt processing, you get the capability of sending your receipts to a designated email, just like the IDR works in payables. So using this functionality, you can use a receipt and send it to a designated email address. It will scan the receipt and create an expense for you, and then you can configure notification email, which email you want. This is an overview of the setup page. Now, there is a bit of implementation work with the expense assistant. So currently, we don't have any demo for expense assistant because it requires an implementation work. If any of you are interested, we can surely go ahead and do that for you. But this is the major setup that is involved with the expense assistant. So you can set up automatic submission of expenses, where after an employee creates an expense item using expense assistance, it needs to be submitted for approval and further processing. So your company can automatically submit expense items which are ready for submission as part of the expense report. Uh, the other important feature is the electronic receipts processing that I just mentioned. So employees can forward the electronic receipts, such as receipts from Uber, from their emails to the designated email, and the application then uses the details in the receipt to create expense items using the settings configured for the expense assistant. So this was like a very quick and brief introduction to the mobile app and the digital assistant. Next up, we get a lot of questions how to enable the mobile app. In actual, there is nothing you need to do to enable the mobile app. You just need a mobile phone. You need to go to Google Play Store or Apple's App Store to download the app, and this should be the first screen that you see when you open the app. So uh, I'll not be showing this screen in the demo because you never know when you can run into login issues. But this is the screen that you land onto. Uh, in this screen, the host URL is nothing but your environment port. So when you log into your Oracle application, the first part till the first slash is your environment port. So you just copy that and paste it here. Then your username and password. If uh, you are a single sign-on organization, use the single sign-on option. If you use the basic authentication, use the basic authentication to log into the application. And that's it. That's how you enable the app, and that's how you get into the app. Once you are into the app, there are a few tasks available at your disposal. So this is the look of the application with the latest version. And these are all the options that are available for you. So you can enter expenses in multiple ways. You can create expense lines from voice recordings, receipt images, and calendar entries. also you have got the quick entry up top, if you can see. You can also, add attendees from your calendar events. So if you have got your calendar set up and up to date, and you have got a business trip where you are having a lunch with someone, one of your colleague, and you have got their name in the calendar, lunch with so and so, you can add that person in the attendees when you are trying to create the expense. You can also create attendees from your contact list, so that's seamless. And uh, just like expenses in the web application, you can add projects and cost centers, and uh, you can also flag policy violations and receipt requirements. All of those work with the expenses app as well. uh, Now you can also download the corporate card transactions and then edit the details with the and then we have the track distance and enter mileage expenses option, uh, which is a nice feature. So uh, what I would do is, if I'm taking my car for a company trip, I would start the tracker when I'm starting, and when I've reached the destination, I would stop the tracker. So it will calculate the miles, and then you can create the expense based on that. Then you can submit expense reports, sync reference data automatically, and approve expense reports as well, and then check expense report history as well. So all of that I'm going to show you in the overview, which is next. So in the overview, first of all, I've got the settings screen because there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. Uh, it again shows the host URL, username, password, which you would have used while logging into the application. And then you have something called the sync frequency, which can be set as daily, weekly, monthly. uh, I think, and there is one more option I can show you on the app. So this sync is basically for anything related to setup. So if you have got new expense type, you will not see that in the application if this sync has not been performed. So there is, on the top right, there is a manual sync. You can sync at any time in your application, but then you also have a sync frequency that you can set up, and the application should sync automatically without you even noticing. Then you have the reimbursed currency. This is your default reimbursed currency, but if you do have expenses in another currency, you are still able to change the currency in the application itself and submit expenses for them. Image size is something uh, related to the receipts. When you attach the receipts, what image size you want for the receipts. Then if you want to save the receipts to your camera roll, you can enable that and save password locally. And then there is the version information and the app related information at the bottom. Moving on to next, as I mentioned, quick entry is the quickest and easiest way to create an expense in the application. You can select just from the drop down, you can select the expense type, enter the amount, and click on add. It should seamlessly create an expense for you. Now your company may have some receipt validations, receipt requirements, and maybe some other policies. Those are not calculated at this stage. If the expense violates any of the policy restrictions, you will see some errors which you might have to correct. But this is the quickest, as it says, quick entry. So it's the quickest way to create an expense. Next, as I mentioned, the mileage tracker. It gets your location. You just have to keep in mind that you enable location services for your application. If you do so, it can track your exact location, and then as you go around with your day, it can keep on tracking how many miles you travel. So that can easily be then created into an expense. uh, Third option is view expenses. So in the view expenses, you can see all the expenses that you have created. If you have any expenses with error, those will also show up here, and the error will also be shown here. And we'll see all about it when we go to the application itself. Then we also have a history tab. Now in the history tab, you have the submitted reports, uploaded expenses, and failed expenses. So in the submitted reports, you will see any of the reports that you have submitted finally from the application, and you will also see the status of those reports, if those are actually pending approval, or if those are in saved status, or if those have been rejected, you will not see it here. If manager rejects them, you will not see them here. In the uploaded tab, you can see all the expenses that you have uploaded. Now you can go and find those expenses in the uh, cloud application, and then add them to an expense, and submit them. In the failed expenses, you will only see expenses which have a technical issue and have failed to upload. You will not see any expenses rejected by manager, for example, here. Then you have the option to upload expenses, submit expenses. Upload will just upload all the expenses to Oracle Cloud, and then you can add those to an expense report and then submit it. The submit expenses will you can use submit expenses to directly submit the expense report from the application itself. You will need to keep in mind that you don't have any policy violations, and you have all the receipts where receipts are required. If that is so, the report should get submitted successfully. You also then get the option of approving the reports. Now in approve section, if you are a manager, you get the option to approve the report, request more information, and you also get the option to reject the report. Next, we'll move on to the demo. I'll quickly start sharing from my phone. And as I mentioned, this is the first screen, landing page, where you see all the options. Quickly showing you the settings for the application. You get the host URL, you get the username, password, and then sync frequency. As I mentioned, there are 4: daily, weekly, monthly, and the 4th one is a manual one. So if it's weekly, it will keep on syncing every week, and you don't have to do anything. You can also click on sync on the top right to sync it as you go. Then moving on to the quick entry. So as I mentioned, LOV shows all these expense types. Just quickly select one expense type, enter the amount, click on add, and your expense has been created. You can see all the created expenses in the view expenses tab. Now in the view expenses, you can see a couple of them are in error, and the error says merchant is missing. I'll show you that these expenses are not available to submit. However, you can upload these expenses. So, and then you get this tab on top where you can, just segregate them based on week in which you have created the expense, or the type of the expense. Then in the upload section, you see all of the expenses. It does not matter if your expense has some issues. What this is doing is this is just transferring the expense from your mobile app to the Oracle Cloud application. So it does not give much attention to any of the errors or any of the missing information. And if you just select all of them and click on upload, it should then upload this expense, and it should go away from this screen. Yeah, that's gone now. One expense has been uploaded. Then we have the submit screen. If you can see, we just have 3 of them here, whereas in view, I've got 5. So car rental and hotel expense is not shown in the submit because they have some errors. So you can create an expense report, select all the expenses, then go to create on the top right. Maybe I did it. too quickly. So there is a create on the top right. You click on create, and then you can modify it at this stage as well. Payment method, my my demo instance has this option of selecting the payment method. Most of your system might not be configured to show you payment method, but you can select a payment method if the business unit is enabled to do so. You can enter the purpose, add any attachments if you want, and then you get couple of actions here. You can add more. That will add more expenses to the same expense report. You can save. That's that's saved. So now in the submit report section, down below, you have got expenses and reports, two sections. So in the expenses, you see the couple of expenses which are ready to be submitted. But in the reports, you've got the report that we just now created. And again, same actions are available, but you've got submit report on top right. You could do that. You have to acknowledge to the expense policies, agree, and the report should get submitted. Yeah, so report is submitted, and now it has fetched the status that it is pending manager approval. You also get camera and voice. So both of them will not work with screen sharing, but with voice, you could do something like, for example, I created this expense. I just said dinner 20 and it created an expense for me. So it is in, I created in GBP, but my default setup is US dollar. So it did conversion and everything on its own. Uh, so yeah, you could use the voice feature. You could also use this camera feature to either take photos of the report and attach of the receipt and attach them to an expense, or you can take a photo of a receipt and scan it. So if you do scan, it should create an expense. And with the voice, I already mentioned. Again, calendar, I have not set up calendar on my phone, but yeah. So as you can see, you'll have to give full access, and then it should get all your meetings and all your attendees in those meetings. If you want to add them, you can do that. You get this mileage option to directly create a mileage expense. Just enter. So for me, the mandatory part is just to enter the distance. So I enter 100, yeah, and save it. And just like that, the expense is created. Now you also get an enter expense type, so tab. So in this, you can also modify the template if you have any other template that you want to use. For example, some of you might have project related expenses and normal expenses. So by default, your template might be for the normal expenses, and you might want to create a project related expense. So then that cannot be done using the quick entry. You'll have to do that using the enter tab, and then select the different template, select the expense type, amount. That's it. That's how you can create an expense, change an expense template while creating the expense for you. Then we have the approval tab. In the approvals, if you are an approver, you should see the approvals pending the expense reports pending your approval. You can then filter it again, segregated based on date, person, amount, and it's sorry, this is a sort, so it should sort based on date, person, or amount. So that's about it. Now in the approval section, you get the option of reviewing all of this. This is all the information that's available for you. If you feel you need more information, you can actually request more information here. You can reject the report, or you can, on the top right, approve the report. So it should go through directly from the app and the report should get approved. Give it a second. Yeah. And it's gone from your approved report section. So now you've just got one. Next is the history tab. Once you click the history tab, you should have three different selections at the bottom: submitted, uploaded, and failed. So in the submitted section, you can see all the expense reports that you have submitted. There's the one demo test that I submitted just now, and then there are two others which I submitted earlier. The first one, if you can see, it says saved because I created an expense and it was a wrong one. It had some errors. The receipt was missing in it, so it went into saved status and not in pending manager approval. In uploaded, you can see all the ones that I have uploaded. And in the field, I don't have anything right now, but if anything fails, they should come up here. Now, just to show you how this works, I will quickly create an expense. And so while creating expense, since this demo instance, there are no other validations. So I've just selected that receipt is missing. I click on save. Now I get this option of submitting it. Yeah, now you see the expense report status was not pending manager approval. And if I show you again, yeah, there is another one which is in save status because I just selected receipt missing. So now it has gone on to the web application, but it will be in save status for you to take action, complete the details, and then submit it as and when you are ready. In the tracker, again, you need to give your location access. It takes it from the Apple Maps. So if you have a Google phone, it might take from Google Maps. So you have the map available to you. If you enable the location, it will start from your location, and just if you click start, it should start it. And then if you when you reach the destination, you just click on stop and it should calculate the miles. And then the about section just shows the version information uh, and the privacy policy. Yeah, that's it from the app. I will quickly show you the expenses in the web application. So I've just logged in, start sharing from my computer again. As I showed you, there are a couple of them now in not submitted status because review potential duplicates is fine, but I selected receipt missing, so now it is expecting me to submit a receipt for it. And same with the other one. Yeah, missing required fields, missing receipt. Now I can go in this. It's on time. Yeah, so it just wants a justification. Yeah, and there is a policy that expense item requires a receipt over 25 USD. So I'll provide a justification and try to submit it. Yeah, and now it has gone through. The other one that I submitted for taxi, 20 US dollars, it is now pending manager approval and it is assigned to the manager and the other one as well. So That's about it. If you have any questions, put them through in the Q&A section. Sasha, do we have anything?
We do. We have with regard to the actual tiles on the mobile, can you customize it so that you can hide them? Because like the calendar, for example, can you hide that?
So the actual tiles, no, but I think so with the camera there is this functionality to scan the receipts. You could disable that functionality, but for the calendar, I think we might need to reach out to Oracle and check with them if they do allow hiding that feature altogether. But yeah, uh, does doesn't seem so. There is nothing out of box that we can do to hide one of the tiles.
Okay, we can double check on that as well, just to be sure.
Yeah.
And let you know. And then there was one that came in previously. I think you've answered it with regard to capturing attendee information for expenses
Yeah.
from the mobile device. You mentioned the calendar.
Yeah.
And then
you could also, is it a question if we can add attendees in the expense report?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me quick go around. Show I missed showing that part. So you could, when you are creating the expense, you could do that. Share back again. Yeah. So in here, you see attendees down below. You can add attendees. Now this can be an employee or a non-employee. You can enter both of them in here. Just to show you the navigation again. So enter expenses, any expense type which allows attendees. So for meals, just enter an amount. Then in the attendee section, I can give specific amounts for each person. So I can enter Sasha. And it will go and search the employee if it's available. I believe it is on the email, but we might need to check. And then for the non-employee, you can just give certain details and save it. And in this case, you will only be reimbursed for the 15 pounds, 15 US dollars, or you have this option of divide amount equally. If not, you can do unequal amounts as well. And then from the actions down below, you have got the option of adding from contacts, adding the attendee name, and then add from calendar, as I mentioned. So yeah, you've got quite a few options of adding the attendees. Now in the attendees, it shows Ron Pines and one another. Save the expense. Yeah, it's there with everything. Yeah. Any other questions?
Nope, that's it from the Q&A, unless anybody else has got anything to ask.
Okay. Thank you very much then. So thank you, Deepansh. That was very helpful, very informative. And thank you everyone for attending, and thank you, Sasha, for monitoring those Q&As. Just let everyone know that we'll be publishing this webinar as a video later, so you can get a second viewing if needed. And that the next webinar is scheduled for the 5th of February, and we'll publish more details about that shortly. But for now, thank you very much for attending. I hope you enjoyed this. Yeah, I hope you found it very helpful. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. If you have
Thanks,
any
Deep.
doubts, we are always here.
Yeah.
Get to us. Yeah.
Thank you.